nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence. We lost three people in the village this month, reported to us. Fire Chief Don Wayan, longtime firefighter Bud Harvey, and Maria's relative Charlie McCarthy. Just have a moment of silence. Very good for such a full room. Thank you. Clerk, call the roll.
Here.
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 Here. Okay, item 3, privilege of the floor. If we can have people step up to the microphone there. State your name and address, and if you can keep it brief, we've got a big audience here. Dave Lindsay?
Yes. Dave Lindsay, 14 Red Coach Drive in Scotia. First, before I get started, I'd like to congratulate Daniel Harrigan, Henry Brady, and Christopher Clementi on their big night this evening. Congratulations. That's not why I'm here, though, and please bear with me for a few minutes if you would. Tonight, I'm representing concerned residents in the Village of Scotia in regard to the conflict of interest with Andrew Kohout, Director of Department of Public Works, running for Glenville Town Board. As residents of the village, we're writing to formally and officially request that the Village Board of Ethics be convened to review the conflict of interest relating to Andrew Kohout running for and potentially serving in a town board position while serving as the Village of Scotia's Superintendent of Department of Public Works. The roles and responsibilities of these positions are in conflict with one another, and standards as listed in section 24-3C in the Village Code, and will be violated by any person serving as both Superintendent of the DPW in the village and at the same time serving as an elected member of the Town Board of the Town of Glenville. We understand that Andrew has officially accepted the nomination as a candidate for the Town of Glenville Town Board, is officially listed on the forthcoming ballot, and if elected, will serve both the Superintendent of the Village Department of Public Works and as a Town Board member. Under this scenario, we as residents of the village are deeply concerned about numerous violations of the standards of the duly adopted Village Code of Ethics, specifically standards listed in 24-3C, number 1, number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 7 of the Code of Ethics are at risk of violation should Andrew be elected to the Town Board of Glenville while also serving as Superintendent of DPW. The findings and purpose of the Village Code of Ethics in section 24-1 states that the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Scotia recognizes that there are state statutory provisions mandating and authorizing villages to establish rules and standards of ethical conduct for public officers and employees, which, if observed, can enhance public confidence in local government. The scenario of DPW superintendent running for elected office to the town board of the adjoining municipality breaks down this confidence and can undermine important duties in each of these positions. It is with this concern in mind that, as provided by section 24-5B of the Village Code of Ethics, we request a formal referral be made to the Board of Ethics to investigate this scenario, and the board issue a formal recommendation to the Board of Trustees for corrective action. We further understand that the Board of Ethics, although provided for in the Village Code, may at this time be unfilled. If that's the case, we also formally request that the trustees, in the interest of maintaining ethical standards for governance, appoint the board as provided for in section 24-5, and that the conflict of interest be immediately taken up by the Board of Ethics. As the elected body of the village, we hope that you will join us in demanding that the adopted standards for ethics in the village be upheld. The above actions, making proper appointments to the Village Board of Ethics, and in turn, the Board of Ethics addressing the violations of the Code of Ethics associated with Superintendent of the Village DPW, also serving as Town Board member in Glenville, are requested to immediately be addressed as sufficient time is needed to undertake these steps, so that principles of proper ethical governance are maintained. Thank you, and we look forward to receiving your response to this formal request as outlined in the Village Code of Ethics. Now, the Attorney General of New York State in 1985 had an opinion that simply stated, one person may not serve simultaneously as a member of the town board and as highway superintendent of the village in the town. And if anybody can look up the roles and responsibilities of the DPW, it clearly states that streets and sidewalks are part of their responsibility as a highway superintendent. I have copies of anything that anybody would be interested in. We have 30 signatures from village residents that would like this issue addressed. Thank you. Congratulations to everyone.
Mike Seaver?
My name is Mike Seaburn, 515 Riverside Ave, Glenville. Work for the town of Glenville, the DPW. Just wanted to come tonight and thank the Village of Scotia for all of their help that was given to us for the 10th annual Oktoberfest. It was greatly appreciated. The use of the light tower, the help from the DPW department, and everything else that was given and volunteered was very greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
My name is Faye Tischler. I live at 207 Riverside Avenue. I have some handouts. I'm not sure who I should give them to. I'm here tonight to urge you to consider a change in the village ordinance. I believe it's number 104-9. That prohibits a resident from keeping chickens within 300 feet of any dwelling other than the one occupied by said resident. As written, this ordinance would automatically make it unlawful for most village residents to keep chickens in their backyards, since most of our lots are fairly small. As you're probably aware, keeping backyard chickens is a growing trend across the nation as people have become more interested in knowing where and how the foods that they eat are sourced. Locally, there's several municipalities within our region who have already put laws in place that allow for backyard chickens. And examples are the City of Albany, and you each have a copy of their current law. And within the last 2 weeks, Boston Spa changed their ordinances so that backyard chickens are a possibility, and I gave you a copy of the Gazette article that had that in it, I think a week and a half ago. I've done a lot of reading about these chicken laws across the nation, and most of them share some commonalities. And for example, most limit the number of chickens that can be allowed to about 6 at the most. Most or actually all of them, prohibit the keeping of roosters for obvious reasons. Many have stipulations about the size and placement of a coop on one's property. In many cases, there's a requirement of a license or a registration fee, and that's usually about $25. And almost all places ban the outdoor slaughter of chickens so that your kids wouldn't accidentally see your neighbor slaughtering their hens in the backyard and be horrified by it. So most of these stipulations were designed to make backyard chickens a seamless part of a neighborhood without causing problems between neighbors and for keeping health regulations in mind. And in most cases, these regulations have all been very successful. And that's about all I have to say, but I just wanted to share one thing with you. Well, actually, two things. One is I hope you realize I used a lot of restraint in not dressing up as a giant chicken tonight. That's one. And the second thing is I'd like to just share a little quick story. And my husband and I live down along Reese's Creek on Riverside Avenue. And every spring and summer, we have anywhere from between 2 and 12 wild turkeys who take up residence in our yard. And they roost in the trees on Reese's Creek out behind our house at night. And they come down during the day and they hang out in the backyard and the front yard and they wander up and down Riverside Avenue and they're there. And it just seems really ironic that here are these 12 turkeys wandering around the streets, and we can't legally have one little chicken in a fenced-in coop on our property. So I want to leave you with that in mind, and I want to thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think we ought to arrest her for keeping turkeys. Kurt Seaman?
Good evening, my name is Kurt Simone. I live on Drowns Road in the town of Glenville. And I'd like to address the town board election and ethics also. But draw my attention to this a little different. I'm a public school teacher. I teach participation in government. And I have all my students look at all the town and village websites in the area. And you have an excellent website. Glenville does as well. You also have an ethics code. My students look at the ethics codes of all the towns and they compare and contrast. And we talk about these issues. And so when I saw this issue arise, I was a little concerned because I know my students will see it. It will be in discussion. And like so I've been addressed, I hope you do call up the ethics board. I'm not sure if you have one established yet. The law, your law requires it. I'm not sure it's established yet because I couldn't find that on your website. When you do have it convened and when they do make a decision, I believe the law requires the decision to be forwarded to Albany with a recommendation. Now you can act on it beforehand, but it also goes to Albany for the recommendation, is my understanding. You have an ethics law that's derived out of the home rule laws of the 1970s. I know Mr. Gohart addressed a 1977 Attorney General ruling, but that predates all that. Your ethics code is actually strong. It's probably the best in our area. I actually am impressed. It is very strong, stronger than town Glenville's. With that in mind, that trumps a 1977 Attorney General's decision, as does the 1985 Attorney General's decision, which was brought up in the era of ethics laws that are required by the state. And the 1985 decision, I'll give you a copy of it, is very specific. So I'd recommend you do deliberation, think about this deeply, because this is a serious issue. And I know that Times Union is looking at it now. I think the Gazette might be, and I certainly don't want Channel 6 here. Those are things that happen when you go down this road. So I respectfully request that you do address this as in earnest. It is important, and it's a fantastic community. You got a fantastic law. It only needs your commitment to follow up with it. I thank you very much.
Greg Zeman?
Mayor, Village Board, Greg Zeman, 44 Washington Road. I want to congratulate Dan and Henry for your appointments. I'm here tonight to make sure that the misrepresentation put forward by the town Republican Party does not go unanswered. Andrew Kohout, the village DPW supervisor, is running for a seat on the Glenville Town Board. The Republican Party is trying to make this an issue in their campaign, that there would be some form of conflict of interest. That since Mr. Kohout is an employee of the village, that he could not be an objective member of the town board. Let's look at the facts. Andrew Kohout does not make policy for the village. That is decided by the mayor and the village board. If we follow the Republicans' argument, no one who works for the village would be allowed to run for town office. Point 2, the New York State Comptroller Office and the New York State Attorney General Office have put forth multiple opinions that it is perfectly acceptable for a superintendent of public works in a village to run for a town board seat. Finally, this is a blatant attempt to deny the citizens of Glenville a highly qualified, knowledgeable candidate for town board. In closing, we should let the voters decide. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam Spicer?
Hello, my name is Pamela Spicer. I live at 210 Fifth Street in Scotia. I'm here to speak against what was just said. We have a board of ethics, not a board of compassion, not a board of nice guys. Ethics, ethics and law. The law says in section 23C, no, 24.3, sorry, that a village employee cannot run for a town position. It doesn't mean unless he's a nice guy or unless he's really cool. It means employee, not a candidate for position. Ethics needs clarity. If you want to change the law, there's procedure for that. Until that happens, I'm requesting that Andrew Kohout respectfully decline, step down, not pursue a position in the town. I'm also asking respectfully for the Board of Ethics to convene and to take a clear, unemotional look at this. I appreciate how admired Mr. Kohout is. I appreciate the work that he does do. But let's not let emotions and friendships sway the issue. Let's keep it clear to law. The second thing I'd like to talk about is the ongoing neglect of zombie properties in Scotia, the village. There's several down below the avenue. There's several up in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th streets. These properties are not secured, they're bank owned. They're easily trespassed on. There have been numerous attempts by Scotia citizens to rally friends and neighbors to go onto property without legal permission to attempt cleanups because it's an eyesore for them to be neighbors to. This raises questions of legality, liability, potential injury. If someone will get stuck by a needle, reaching blindly for debris behind a bush, who takes care of that? Who's supposed to be taking care of that is our building inspector. Who's supposed to be making wise decisions on use variances and area variances is our zoning board of appeals. I can tell you that probably 5 or 6 years ago, my neighbor Jamie Stegman, who's here, and I came to a ZBA meeting, and we begged and pleaded for the zoning board not to give a use variance or an area variance to an illegally constructed pool and deck. We were shot down as the lady who owned the property sat bouncing her baby on her knee and crying. And emotions won that day. They were required to plant arborvitaes instead of taking down the deck. The deck was at 8 feet. Our fences are at 6 and 8 feet. So all partying was going on above, and we had loss of privacy. To this day, the arborvitaes are not planted. The people who went ahead and illegally ordered the law and put up the illegal pool and the ugly and illegal deck are now in foreclosure. The property is going to be vacant. There has been a multitude of mosquitoes on the property because no one has secured the pool and the property. And I see this happening throughout the village of Scotia. We're a small community. We are right up against one another, sometimes only a driveway apart from each other. I would ask that the zoning board appointees this year and this coming year be carefully scrutinized for their credentials and their wisdom. I would also ask that past decisions that were handed down that have not been followed through, that you reverse the decision and start to respect those of us in our community who are invested here long-term and are trying to live a good quality of life. And I would also ask you to look into the position of the building inspector and look at the quality of the work and the time that he spent here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Close privilege to the floor. And item number 4.
I'll make the motion to appoint Dan Harrigan as chief.
I'll second that motion. Yes.
Yes.
Item number 5. We have would you like to resolve to promote Henry Brady as sergeant?
I would like to make that motion too.
I'll second.
Roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'll take a brief break and welcome the 2, not new members, but newly. Now do the oath of office. I, Henry Harrigan, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and the Village Code of Village of Scotia, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of Chief of Police
I will faithfully discharge the duties of chief of police
of the Village of Scotia to the best of my ability.
of the village of Scotia to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
It's dangerous.
Come on, Chris.
You got it.
So now, everybody, we have an unfortunate vacancy in the sergeant position, so we just happen to have. I, Henry J. Brady.
I, Henry J. Brady.
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the village code of the village of Scotia,
and the Code of the Village of Scotia,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
That's the only Jim putting on.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Gotta be the best angle.
Thank you, everybody. It's
Thank you for coming.
a proud day. Item number 6, we have a resolution about the fire Item number 7, we have a motion to authorize the load of Red Drive.
I'll make the motion to close Red Coach Drive from Holly Boulevard to Deerfield Place.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 8, we're going to do.
Change your mind?
Yeah, exactly.
Can we come?
There wasn't an item number 7. I don't want to
Yes.
do it. The Halloween celebration will officially for the Village of Scotia be October 31st from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Mayor's comments to the board. So the fire department will be doing the cider and donuts running again on the same schedule as usual. Apologize, the schedule we published on our newsletter left out the Washington Avenue, Washington Road stop, but it will definitely be there. It's one of our better ones. And I will post it before it happens. The fire department will be holding a live bird drill. Any of the trustees is welcome to attend. It's a pretty interesting thing. It's Sunday morning, October 20th at 8 o'clock, and at the Saratoga County Fire Center. Wanted to report that we have a couple of we have lists for new police officers to replace the graduated ones. We have to choose, but there's a list of laterals and there's a list of local village residents who are interested. You've all probably seen that the railroad bridge got a little bit painted. In response to our request. That's only, I think, a token, but it's, I guess, better than it was. I want to thank Tom and George for manning the tent at Oktoberfest. I think it went pretty well. I saw quite a few people while I was there. And there certainly were a lot of people around. It was pretty impressive weekend. We're doing pretty well with the sexual harassment prevention training that all the village employees are required to do. The village board is not doing so well, so those of you who haven't done it yet, please get on it and do it. But most of the other employees have done it already. And it's pretty easy and it opens your eyes a little bit. We had the open house at the Flint House last weekend. It went pretty well. And I walked down there with my granddaughter and we combed out some broom corn. Kind of impressive to see it done. October 25th, here, the flu shot and health screening. If anybody is interested in an MVP member, you can do that for free. And there's arrangements otherwise. But it's a good thing the village does. And yeah, the only other thing is that Steve Louie has been here and he's been having fun working with the auditor. Anyway, those are my comments. Correspondence, liaison, and special committee reports. Start with George.
Busy month in the village. We had a traffic safety meeting where we discussed Sealy and Broad Street. There's an effort to combine to create some walking paths and to make the street crossings a little safer for the students over there that the school district would like to do with us. We also talked about calming efforts throughout the village, including here at Route 5 and Route 50. You know, the state made a change that kind of eliminated our parking along that route, and we had to eliminate that parking formally for now while we do some studies. We did interview with the CDTC. We had a traffic study done with CDTC that allowed us to discuss and talk about plans, and it's kind of the first step into what would be some more studies to enter into a linkage study to apply for grants to try and take a bigger picture look at the village and the intersections between the state roads and the village roads, and try and create, you know, traffic calming measures and improve parking and kind of make it a more walkable and safer walkable community with you know, defined areas. It's something that the mayor is passionate about, and myself and our DPW superintendent are passionate about, is trying to adhere to our business district, our business district, what they would prefer to do, and then keep things safe for our residents. We interviewed for a police chief, as you know, we had 3 valid candidates, and I think we made a good choice with Chief Harrigan. Trustee Tiberio and Mayor Gifford also did interviews with some qualified to replace the sergeant study, which thank you guys for doing that, appreciate it. I think we got a lot of good candidates here in the village for those positions, and it's always great to see somebody move up rather than come in. Also worked with sat and talked with Jimmy, our parks superintendent, for some time. We talked about the condition of Collins Lake, how there is a common, another threat to fresh waters around here as well with algae blooms. We've probably seen them in the news, kind of restricting and hampering, you know, public use of those. So he's working towards utilizing all the resources available to try and battle those things. Had an opportunity to go visit Glenville Hills Fire Department over the weekend. They had a great thing. They had the Life Flight helicopter come in. My 9-year-old was pretty impressed with that. He had a copter was blue and he had a blue coat on, so it was a nice little picture. And then, just like the mayor said, the historian had our open house at the Flint property. It's a great little place to visit. It has our community garden there, which residents have the opportunity to plant things that they don't have room for, and then our dog park is down there as well. So just another great month in the village.
Thank you. Heather?
First of all, I did want to congratulate and wish good luck to both Chief Harrigan and Sergeant Brady. I think they're wonderful choices, and I think they're going to be doing a great job for the village of Scotia. A report from the town, I would encourage everyone to look at the town budgets. The final budget will be out in the near future. Report from the village clerks, our water bill is out. It will be due at the end of October. And remember the portal that we have, it's a great resource, and I know it works well, because that's how I pay my bill. Also, report from DPW. I did speak with Andrew with regards to a number of matters. The docks will be coming out next Friday. The paving is complete, looks great, and thank you again for all the hard work. I know everybody is very pleased with the paving that we have in the village. We also are getting ready for leaf removal. We don't have a firm date yet, but that will be upcoming shortly. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe?
I attended the regatta that we had last Sunday. It was very well done. I mean, had a lot of people there. Looked like everybody enjoyed themselves. They had a lot of vendors out there. Looked like, I don't know, how times you have to find a figure on it? There was, I know it was over 100 of them.
But it was-
at least over 100.
They were amazing, right?
Amazing.
You don't want to stand in front of them, it looked like they were going to
Don't get near the trailers, they're not loaded. But I met a lot of people, and they liked the village docks and what we did to the shoreline of the village, and they're very impressed. Secondly, I did have a meeting with the Special Events Committee. We are working on a holiday on the Avenue. We are having also a pie contest, and I believe we're having a chowder contest throughout the village. And we have a number of restaurants that are joining in on that, and we hope to be very successful. We were before the chili contest. I know Don Mason and Trenton Day are going to be the...
Yeah, no, they're not doing it.
They're not going to do it?
No,
Who's going to do it
they
this year?
backed out, sorry.
Geez. But we're looking forward to have a good holiday. We are trying to get a lot of the businesses to decorate their windows, and maybe have a contest for them to see who's got the best looking window in the village, in the business district. So that's forthcoming too. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. John?
Had a bid meeting last month. The bid sponsored a few of the regatta events. They had a DJ for the kids to keep them hyped up between races. It's also the first time the bid sent a street team down to try to draw businesses over to the avenue after the event. They had a bunch of high school kids volunteer to hand out flyers to the teams with special discounts and coupons for some of the village places. So I think they were pretty happy with that. The bid also had a presentation by Eric Buskirk from the Lions Club on the progress of the charging stations. As you guys know, we're going to have 2 slow chargers, and the only fast charger that's not a Tesla fast charger in a Hannaford parking lot in 50 or 60 miles. So that'll be a real asset to the village. The business owners were very happy about it, and they were coming up with ways to create discounts for people that charge their vehicle, because there's going to be a small fee to use some of the chargers. I also want to thank Chief Brissoni for his service. Being a police liaison, I worked closely with him for the 3 years I've been in office, and I look forward to working with Chief Harrigan in the future. And some more good news for the village. Last year, me and former trustee Kevin Mathis got a grant for the fire department for $30,000 towards a bailout tower training center. Due to new rules and ways we have to submit the application, Assemblywoman Walsh was able to get us another $20,000, so now we have $50,000 for that project. So it's a bit of good news for us here in the village. And that's all I got to report.
Thank you. Item 11, departmental reports.
I wish to thank the department heads for the reports.
Thank you. Item 12, can we have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Solichak?
Yes.
Trustee Rizzo?
Yes.
Trustee Tiberius?
Yes.
Mayor Gifford?
Yes. Item 13, can we have a motion to approve the September 11th regular meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 14, we have a motion to approve the September 16th special meeting.
Make a motion.
I'll move it. Second it.
All in favor?
Sorry.
Aye.
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 Item 15, is that really the next day?
Mhm.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 17th special meeting.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Did you want the other one in there, or is
I
that?
did send it out October 1st and October 7th, if everyone got them,
Okay.
if we can approve them, if not, we can wait till next.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 7th and October 9th,
First
No,
and
first.
7th.
October 1st and 7th.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You okay?
Abstain. I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there, that's right. Okay. Item 16, new business. We have we sent around the water bond resolution, and it's we discussed with the grant. It has a bond portion of it that we need to get signed. Can we, we have a motion for that?
There's a resolution that came.
Yeah, he is.
It's resolution authorizing you to sign
Okay.
a bond, right? That's a resolution authorize you to sign a bond.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Yes.
Trustee Solichak?
Yes.
Trustee Tiberius?
Yes.
Trustee Rizzo?
Yes.
Mayor Gifford?
Yeah.
Do we have any news on
Anybody
the
else have
chances?
any new business?
Do we have any news on the chances of getting that? Is there any feel from Doug Cole on that?
It was updated. It's competitive, and it all just depends how many projects get funded. So, you know, I guess we could be hopeful that yeah, it would be good to get. It would be much needed, but it's just, you know, it's something we got to try to do.
Not to reference one of the privilege of the floor, but don't count your chickens before.
Good one.
But only up to 6.
For you guys had her here, it's a grant to fund to cover 60% of the cost of replacing the water tanks on Spring Road with an above ground monitor tank.
Okay.
It's a very competitive grant program because of the amount that's being offered. But again, it would be kind of foolish not to try for it because it's.
Anybody else have any new business? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So bid.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.